Friday at St. Charles Catholic and Riverside Academy for the Division III state championship. He's worked for 7 newspapers and covered the SEC extensively over an extended period of time, and he is currently the beat writer for LSU football for the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com. He's earned Louisiana Sports Writer of the Year honors many times, including this past year in 2015. Earned the same honor when he was in Memphis, working for the Commercial Appeal, and does an outstanding job. Of course, LSU eagerly awaiting their bowl assignment, and could know something pretty quickly once we see those college football rankings tonight. Please give a very warm welcome to Ron Higgins of the Times-Picayune and NOLA.com. Ron?
Thank you. It's a privilege to be here. It's my first visit here. I'm always glad to come to Touchdown Club and speak. And in case you don't know my background real quick, besides what he said, I was born and raised in Baton Rouge. My father was sports information director at LSU from 1954 to 68. Ace Higgins. So he had a Heisman winner and a national championship, and then he was at the very tail end of a guy who came in from basketball and played. My dad came home in August of 1966. He said, "We have a new basketball coach." He says he's got a son who's a really good player, but I've seen him. Kid looks like he needs to eat some. He's really skinny. I said, "What's his name?" He goes, "His name is Maravich." I said, "Oh, okay." So my dad was a great judge of talent. But it's been a crazy year. This is my 38th year of covering college football. And I don't know if it's gotten any crazier than it did this year when you've had, and not just the SEC, but particularly LSU, when you start with the racial problems in Baton Rouge, followed by the flooding, then followed by Les getting fired, and then followed by the LSU-Florida game getting canceled, and then Ed Orgeron coming in and doing such a great job that he's the surprise hire at the end. In the end, I know a lot of my media colleagues are just still can't believe LSU didn't hire Jimbo Fisher, who basically held LSU for ransom for a 10-year contract, which nobody gets a 10-year contract in college sports. I don't know if anybody gets a 10-year contract in pro sports. I almost saw that Jimbo's agent threw that out there just because Jimbo wouldn't have to make a decision because they knew LSU would not give him that, and no college would. Tom Herman's, it's another thing where he wanted $6 million. The big money people at LSU didn't feel like paying $6 million. Texas gone for $5 million something, and he may very well be a great coach when it's all over. I'm not disappointed with Ed Orgeron as head coach, and I'll tell you why. When I was at Memphis, I saw Ed Orgeron up close as a head coach. He might have been the worst head coach I've ever seen in the SEC, ever. He had no idea what he was doing. Not a clue. He could recruit, but he had no idea how to run a football program. He had no idea of game management. He had no idea. And it told me a lot last year when LSU hired him as head coach. Not as head coach, when he's hired as a defensive line coach. And at their press conference, he saw me, he came up to him, and he goes, hey Ron, I want to tell you something. I want to let you know that when I was at Ole Miss, I know you and I didn't get along very well. I just kind of want to start over. I said, Ed, it was never nothing personal. I just thought you were a terrible head coach. He goes, yeah, you're right, I was. I tried to coach a football team like I was a defensive line coach, and you can't do that. And he did learn. I saw him, if you watch his team at USC when he's interim coach for Lane Kiffin, he was really a good CEO, a good sideline manager. And you just have to, if you hire the right people and be a CEO and let them coach, that's part of coaching. It's also part of coaching to hire the right people. It's part of coaching to know when to motivate your team. And it's part of coaching to know when to step back. I thought he did all those things this year. And yes, they didn't score against Alabama. You have to understand, LSU basically was running the same offense playbook that Les had, but just using different formations and trying to run a few more different plays and get through the year with it. That was a one possession game for the last 5 minutes of the Florida game. The guy ran the wrong way in the goal line. They ran the ball up and down the field in Florida. They couldn't score, had too many turnovers, and lost that game. He won 5 out of 7 games. And honestly, I was stunned last week. I really didn't expect to beat A&M. I really didn't. A&M had lost 5 in a row to LSU. I thought LSU was going to mail it in. But they came out there and they absolutely beat their tail from the get-go. In the middle of all this, there's a soap opera during the game. You're watching the game and then you're keeping track of the coaching search at the same time. It was the most bizarre night I've ever had in a press box. But in the end, they hired a guy that it's going to be debated by everybody. I've heard some people say, like, this is going back to 1987. They hired Mike Archer to replace Arnsbarger. No, it's not. Mike Archer never coached one down as a head coach. He never failed as a head coach before he became a head coach. Ed Orgeron was a head coach. He failed as a head coach. And I almost think, I like a guy who's failed. I like a guy who knows what went wrong. I like a guy who 10 years down the line knows what went wrong, knows what he had to fix, and has gone out and fixed it. And I like that about Ed. I like the fact he's honest. He won't BS you. He'll tell you the truth. You know, football is not brain science, rocket science. Ed will tell you, and I agree with this, if you have more bigger, faster physical players than the other team, most of the time you're going to win. Most of the time you're going to win, which is what Alabama has. He realizes he's got to go get the players like Alabama, especially linemen like Alabama. And he'll say that. And a lot of coaches won't admit that, but like, this is what we got to go do. That's the benchmark. That's what we have to beat. We understand that. He gets that. He understands he's got to run a spread offense now. He understands in modern day college football, you got to put up 35 a game at least to have a chance, because the offenses are so explosive and plays are run so quick. He's going to go find a guy to do that. He understands what it takes to win now. He understands that he can't be Coach O all the time. Almost like a Coach O like it's a character. Every once in a while he'll trot out. Coach O comes out and he has to motivate somebody. You'll see it during the game every once in a while. He's very calm, but then all of a sudden you'll see him get into a huddle and he turns into Coach O for 15 seconds. And probably in that huddle, you probably understand half the words he's saying. But you know he's fired up. And he knows he wants to get the job done right now. But then again, he steps back and he's let his coaches coach. And that's hard to do for a head coach. It's very hard to do. It's a very egotistical power position unless you failed at it. And when you failed at it, you understand why you failed and you step back and all of a sudden you don't have that ego. You're the CEO, you hire people, and you put them in position to do their jobs, and you keep them to task, but you get the hell out the way. And I think he's figured that out. And that's why I'm not overly upset by the hire. That's why I don't think this is a disaster right off the bat, because he didn't hire a name coach. It's hard to hire a name coach, people. It's hard to go out, even if you have 2 months to go find one, and maybe LSU should have got a search firm to go hire, a search firm to go vet the candidates, and they should have done that differently. But it's hard to steal another coach away from another Power 5 conference school to come coach your team. It just is. I do know one SEC coach I talked to who told me he would have taken the job in a heartbeat. He would have been good here, but I don't think LSU ever considered him. That's okay. They got a guy that can recruit, and he's learned to be about a head coach. And so I'm willing to give him a chance and see what happens. Next year he's got five road games. He loses like 20 seniors. But I'm going to tell you, he's not going to use it as an excuse. He's going to come out, and they're going to come out and play football. Whoever their coordinator is, we know Aranda's staying. So I don't think this was a total disaster. There's a lot of people in the media that's still up in arms that they didn't get the guys they wanted. Well, if they didn't, but they got a guy who had 7 job auditions live, passed 5 of them. Other 2 weren't terrible. He understands the fabric of this state. He understands how much football means here, how people live and die with it here with LSU. He gets that. He understands that he hurts when they hurt, which is why he's going to be tireless about winning. And the recruits pick up on that too. And more so, I talked to several LSU players all year, and they said they've never had this much fun playing football under a coach. They said he's made it fun again. It's been fun. It's been fun to go to practice. It's been fun to play games. We're having fun. And if you can have your players buy into what the head coach is doing, that's like 3/4 of the battle. And it also helps you in recruiting because your best recruiters are your players on your team. When kids come and visit and they say, how is it? They say, man, it's great to play for this guy. You'll love it. That helps. It also helps you know that recruits know that Ed Orgeron is not going to go anywhere. He's going to be here in this job till death do we part, or he gets fired or whatever. He's not leaving this job. This job is not a stepping stone. And from other coaches, I can't say that's the truth. So again, I don't hate the hire. I'm glad they made the hire. I'm glad they made it quick. I was worried about being here today. I didn't know if I was going to be here or not, or being at a press conference. But it's been capped a crazy year in the SEC, where there's Alabama and everybody else, a bunch of 3 and 4 loss teams. It's been pretty incredible how things have worked out, all the way to the end where even with 4 losses, LSU still has a chance to go to the Sugar Bowl, which is, who would have thought that like 3 or 4 weeks ago, but that's the way it works out. If they're ranked ahead of all the other SEC teams except for Alabama in the college football rankings, there's one tonight and the final one Sunday. If they're ahead of every other SEC team, they get the invitation to the Sugar Bowl this year. If not, they're probably headed to the Citrus Bowl or the Outback Bowl, which for this team would be a pretty good accomplishment considering where they were in September at 2-2, kind of in disarray and wondering what was going to go on because they kind of waited this year to fire less. So, any questions? I'll take them. Go ahead.
Yeah, obviously they kept Dave Aranda. That's the no-brainer. But the offensive coordinator rumors are out there they're going to bring in Lane Kiffin. What's the real possibility that happens?
I think there's a good chance of it because of Ed's relationship with Lane, because they work together, and Ed has been on 2 of Lane's staff. I mean, to me, it's if Lane doesn't get a head coaching job, and if he's really tired of Nick, which I have a feeling he is, because Nick's really hard to work for, as you would imagine. You can only take so much of Nick, which is why I'm still amazed Kirby Smart lasted as long as he did. Must have had earplugs all the time. But if Lane wants to leave, this is the place he'd probably go to work for Ed because of their friendship. If not, there's some other people out there. There's a Texas offensive coordinator who's out there who's pretty good, is unemployed. I'm hearing a guy that used to be at Boise, who's at North Carolina State, a young guy who was under Malzahn, who might be in there also. We'll see how this plays out, but I mean, I know Kiffin is the splash hire, and that's another guy I never thought I'd say after watching Lane Kiffin at Tennessee as a head coach that he'd ever be this, be good at what he does, but he's done a great job as offensive coordinator at Alabama. Every year he's adjusted his offense to the quarterback, and to have a chance to go to 3 straight college football playoffs with 3 first-year starting quarterbacks is pretty amazing. But he's tweaked the offense to that, and you got to give Nick credit for letting him do that. It was hard for Nick, really hard for Nick, to kind of break away from his old ways of this strict power football. If you remember 3 or 4 years ago, Nick Saban thought no huddle offense was the scourge of college football. He was, they shouldn't have that in college football. They should outlaw it. It's dangerous. When they didn't outlaw it, Nick figured out, because I asked him, I said, why did you all of a sudden get Lane Kiffin and now you're running some of the up-tempo stuff? He goes, I'll tell you why, because you know what? They weren't going to outlaw it, and if other people run it, and that gives them an advantage over me, why shouldn't I run it too? I need to find somebody to help me run that. And Nick Lane's done a really good job of running that up-tempo, but also knowing when to pound the ball also. And it took him a full year to get that down, but they got it down, and he's done pretty well. So we'll see how Lane works out, whether he stays there after this year or not, but we'll see what happens. But he'd be the splash hire. But Ed wants to get somebody that runs a spread offense. And I think LSU fans have been wanting to see that. But they also know they still got to run the ball because Darius Geis is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, who is the who's the SEC coach you mentioned that could have gone to LSU?
I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to say this. He throws the ball a lot. I'll say that. He's been very successful at throwing the ball a lot. He had 2-3 good quarterbacks in a row, and he throws the ball a lot. And there's a couple of jobs in this league that he really likes, and that's one of them.
How much is Orgeron making?
I think it's $3.5 million, and that's probably toward the lower end of the SEC bracket. I think every coach in the West makes at least $4 million. But then also give them a chance to give Dave Aranda a pay raise and then have money to go out and get him an offensive coordinator at a nice price. So they used the money differently. They didn't want to pay Herman the $5 million, and so they decided to use the money in a different way.
What are they going to do with Insminger?
Steve will be on the staff doing something. I mean, Steve enjoyed calling plays, but Steve really likes to be in the background. I mean, I think Steve enjoyed being the tight ends coach. He liked being on the staff. He called plays to fill in, and he's done it before, and he was okay with it. But I had a feeling Steve is, whatever they want him to do, he's okay with. I think he just loves LSU. He's that kind of guy. But, overall, he did a pretty nice job with this team, as far as play calling. There's a couple of games you could question stuff, but, I don't think you can question the fact that they played differently in the fourth quarter of games. They kept attacking people. That's one thing I noticed. A lot of fans wanted to see that LSU to keep attacking offensively in the fourth quarter instead of backing off, and they did that. That's good.
Would you consider Coach O the second best coach in the SEC right now?
Second best coach? No. No, he's not the second best coach. He just got in the league. He's not the second best coach.
Anyone else?
Good? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.